Hey dudettes, it is broiling once again in this hellhole of a planet that we've been blessed with. Thank you, Divine Creator. As many of you know, last week I threatened the detective in response to the profession of her imprudent desire for school to commence, an act of madness or vindication in my opinion. In response to my response, she challenged me to a duel. Well, she may have been kidding, but I'm calling her bluff. You, me, and whatever weapon I choose. Lacking any schooling in the art of fencing, I think our weapon will be words. Great, big words. And because the offensive is the best defensive, I'll go ahead and start. I'll start with words that remind me of you. Melitocent Philosophaster, Ethelcopian Agamist, Leonastic Sciolist, Rugose Brummagem Pettifogger, Ceatopigic Chorophile, Quiremonious Polylogizing Martext. Just for starters. Your move. So last night Melissa saw Twilight for the first time, and I have to say, although I enjoyed it the first time around, the movie is much better with my commentary. I'm hilarious, mostly because I am so convinced that I could play almost every part better than the actor they cast. Billy? Psh, he cannot pull off the wheelchair. Victoria? I can move faster than that. I'm like a cheetah or a tiger. Now don't even get me started on Bella and Edward. I just feel like there's no chemistry between them. I mean, me with myself, it's so tense, so sexual. Have you had enough yet? Now I have to say, the fates are definitely torturing me, but this time I have a real reason for saying as much. That's right, they've closed down the library. 2 whole weeks without books. I do not know how I'm going to survive. Anyone? Suggestions? Online comics / books / fanfics? I suppose I could do required reading. Nah. Hey, just back from the pool, and I'm going to do my neuroscience segment since you all seem convinced that I learned something while at CTY. Well, I suppose I learned something, but I basically put it all in my notes, which are left in Brooklyn. It's really quite tragic. I had everything mapped out, including the neurons. Little smiley face for the nucleus. I got teased for that. The basic thing you should know about how the brain works is how the systems work and how the neuron works. There are systems, which are groups of neurons that work together to achieve some end. There's the motor cortex, there's the sensory cortex, and there's the neocortex. Those are the 3 main cortices. And what they do is they receive information, send information, and process information. But not necessarily in that order. The neocortex is what makes us human. It gives us the ability to process information on a higher level. It gives us the illusion or the emergent property, whatever you want to call consciousness. It provides a goal for us to work towards. The sensory cortex obviously receives information and sends that to the neocortex for further processing. The motor cortex just sends information from the central nervous system, our brains, to the peripheral nervous system, which controls our muscles so that we can move and do stuff and, act like people. On a neuronal level, there are thousands upon millions of neurons. The way they send information is they send an action potential or a synaptic signal. And the way they do that is that when there's pressure applied to the neuron, or there's a signal sent down their dendrites. Dendrites receive information from other neurons. The ions, the magnetically charged ions, electromagnetically charged ions, switch sides so that instead of being polarized with all the positives on the inside and all the negatives on the outside, the positives flow out, the negatives flow in, and then as they depolarize. Then as they repolarize, it causes the action potential, which flows out of the cell and signals the next action potential. They also use action potentials to communicate, to send signals. It's sort of like either you send an action potential or you don't. Kind of like binary. You either put a 1 or a 0. The pattern of these signals is the communication that the neurons use. That is the basic unit of the way that entire systems and our entire brain functions. And that's just the first week. I think I'm going to leave you with that, let you process the information in your neocortex, and come up with any more questions you have. Since Amelia utterly failed to forewarn us in advance about her lack of internet or lack of computer or lack of whatever it is that she uses to make these videos, she's going to be punished. My punishment? She will have to sing the yodel-lady hee-hoo song from Sound of Music for 1 whole minute. Yes, 1 whole minute. Not so bad, right? She has to sing it in a skirt. It must be a long skirt. It must be a very long skirt, preferably with ruffles. She must have a bonnet. The bonnet should have ruffles, preferably. There must be a blouse. The blouse should be frilly and frumpy looking. And a basket wouldn't be too bad. Must be at least one bow or ribbon tied around some part of her. I don't care if it's an appendage, I don't care if it's her throat, but that's the regulation. Enjoy.